As the global community is called to re-examine relationship to the natural world, one thing is certain: despite the efforts of human technological advances, humanity is still completely dependent on healthy and vibrant ecosystems for water, food, medicines, clothing, fuel, shelter, and energy, just to name a few. This involves respecting, protecting, and repairing biological wealth. Undoubtedly, this year is special in terms of biodiversity conservation. We now have a renewed sense of hope with the adoption of the coming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, a historic agreement signed in December 2022 that sets goals and concrete measures to stop and reverse the loss of nature by 2050. That is why the theme of the International Day for Biological Diversity is from agreement to action, build back biodiversity. The slogan promotes the idea that now that the world has an action plan agreed upon at a global level, it must implement all the measures that the agreement contemplates before 2030.
On the International Day for Biological Diversity, we reflect on our relationship with humanity's life support system. From the air we breathe and the food we eat, to the energy that fuels us and the medicines that heal us, our lives are wholly dependent on healthy ecosystems. Yet, our actions are devastating every corner of the planet. 1 million species are at risk of extinction, the result of habitat degradation, skyrocketing pollution, and the worsening climate crisis. We must end this war on nature. Last year's agreement on the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework marked an important step, but now is the time to move from agreement to action. This means ensuring sustainable production and consumption patterns, redirecting subsidies from nature-destroying activities towards green solutions, recognizing the rights of indigenous peoples and local communities, the strongest guardians of our world's biodiversity, and pushing governments and businesses to take stronger and faster action against biodiversity loss and the climate crisis. Let us work together across government, civil society, and the private sector to secure a sustainable future for all.
The theme reminds us of the incredible achievement this past December when the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, the GBF, was adopted. At the same time, the theme underlines the need for countries to move quickly to take the actions necessary to achieve the GBF's ambitious goals and targets. Many priorities of the Convention on Migratory Species, CMS, are at the heart of the Global Biodiversity Framework. Implementing the framework will help address many key conservation needs and threats to migratory species. Likewise, implementing CMS will directly contribute to the implementation of many aspects of the framework.
Harmony of biodiversity destroyed, birthing climate crisis and crying faces.
Dicey situation indeed, yet we carry on like a bull in a china shop.
On environment matters, we take the bull by the horns, comb the nooks and cranny of Nigeria.
Asking tough questions.
Examining challenges and opportunities.
Giving human face to the science, facts, facts, and global agreements. It's a call for action. Don't miss it.
Join award-winning environmental journalist Jennifer Igwe and other NTA eco reporters for Environment Matters.
Biological diversity resources are the pillars upon which the world builds civilization. Fish, for instance, provides 20% of animal protein to about 3 billion people. Over 80% of the human diet is provided by plants. As many as 80% of people living in rural areas in developing countries rely on traditional plant-based medicines for basic health care. But loss of biodiversity threatens all, including human health. It has been proven that biodiversity loss could expand zoonosis, diseases transmitted from animals to humans, while on the other hand, if humanity can keep biodiversity intact, it offers excellent tools to fight against pandemics like those caused by coronaviruses.
Biodiversity is the foundation for food security and nutrition. It is the key to the resilience of production systems and livelihood to shocks and stresses, including the impact of the climate crisis. This is why the Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework is so important, as it marks a turning point for restoring biodiversity. It is crucial for the future of food and agriculture, and half of the 23 targets in the framework relate to agriculture sector, including crops, livestock, forestry, fishery, and aquaculture. This is a clear recognition that the biodiversity loss could not be fully addressed without the transformation of the global agri-food systems. FAO is actively engaged in supporting members in the transformation and in achieving targets and indicators related to the agri-food sector.
While there is a growing recognition that biological diversity is a global asset of tremendous value to future generations, the number of species is being significantly reduced by certain human activities. Given the importance of public education and awareness about this issue, the United Nations decided to celebrate the International Day for Biological Diversity annually. This year's International Day for Biodiversity is an especially significant one. To build back biodiversity, the world must move from agreement to action, implement the framework and deliver on the promises for 2030 that are encapsulated in its 23 targets.
Wetland ecosystems are central to biodiversity loss, to climate change related issues, to water scarcity, to reducing disasters, to livelihoods and food systems. As such, as we talk about the Global Biodiversity Framework, we're really talking about the biodiverse nature of these wetland ecosystems that this very planet and people are dependent on. So this Global Biodiversity Framework really is about people, and people on this planet need to be engaged. And how can you be engaged? You can be engaged by really working around restoration, which is a very important agenda for us as a convention, and all 172 contracting parties have committed to restoring wetlands that are degraded across the planet. Secondly, we are a part of the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, which is a youth-led, ambitious decade to really help restoring these degraded ecosystems and halting biodiversity loss, which is why there's ambition in this framework. And the ambition is looking forward into the future, into 2050.
Curious about how government policies on healthcare are faring? Do you enjoy learning about wellness concept and the many options available? Then watch Health Options on the NTA.
Mr. President has led by example. Take the COVID-19 vaccine.
Somebody can say, hey, I woke up this morning, I felt some tingling in my hand, some weakness, my face was, I couldn't speak well. That's a warning stroke, and it shouldn't be ignored.
The carrots contains carotene. Tomatoes is a colored plant. It has carotene. Pepper has carotene.
50% of our diet should be green vegetables and fruits.
Join leading experts on both orthodox and alternative medicine for all the enlightenment you need for a healthier you.
Thanks for joining us on the program. I am Rabi Abdullah.
Much must be done if humanity is to address the underlying drivers of biodiversity loss. All governments must not only develop their national targets, but put in place the laws, policies and programs necessary to achieve them. Businesses need to assess and disclose impacts and pivot towards sustainable practices. The efforts of indigenous peoples and local communities in protecting biodiversity must be recognized and protected. Citizens across the world need to reduce waste and shift to more sustainable consumption.
This is how we will build back biodiversity. This is how we will clean our air and our water. This is how we will have food security. This is how we will limit zoonotic diseases. This is how humankind builds a sustainable future on this planet. We must act urgently in order to see tangible results by 2030. Governments, businesses, consumers, we all have a role to play in the implementation of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. And one of the most critical pieces of the puzzle that each and every one of us can do is to talk about biodiversity. The more we mainstream biodiversity, the more successful all other efforts will be.
Plus, leaders need to raise the necessary finance to facilitate these actions, reform subsidies, and align major investment flows with the goals and targets of the framework. A whole of government, whole of society approach is needed where everyone must be engaged, everyone must be involved. This International Day also celebrates what is being done around the world to implement the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework and work towards achieving its goals and targets, the Sustainable Development Goals and the global shared vision of living in harmony with nature.
Biodiversity isn't just beauty, splendor, and variety, although it is all of those things, of course. Biodiversity is also a complex web on which the very human existence depends. Humanity draws its most vital resources from the myriad of forms of life that live on land, in the air, and in the water, both directly and through the services that nature provides to us. But the triple planetary crisis, that crisis of climate change, the crisis of nature and biodiversity loss, and the crisis of pollution and waste, this triple planetary crisis is shredding our web of life. With only 7 years to implement the framework, we must all act now, and we must continue to act until our web of life is secure for us and for the generations to come, and indeed for every species on this planet. Every government, every business, every investor, and every individual must do what they can to protect and restore nature, to address climate change, and to massively reduce pollution and waste.
Harmony of biodiversity destroyed, birthing climate crisis and crying faces.
Dicey situation indeed, yet we carry on like a bull in a china shop.
On environment matters, we take the bull by the horns, comb the nooks and cranny of Nigeria.
Asking tough questions.
Examining challenges and opportunities.
Giving human face to the science, facts, fits, and global agreements. It's a call for action. Don't miss it.
Join award-winning environmental journalist Jennifer Igwe and other NTA Eco reporters for Environment Matters.
Away from the 2023 International Day for Biological Diversity. Next, we look at the recent flag-off of projects in Ogoniland in line with the UNEP report on the cleanup of hydrocarbon pollution sites in the area. The projects were flagged off by President Muhammadu Buhari, and this report is compiled by Robinson Daratede from Ogoniland in Rivers State.
The flag-off of the Center of Excellence for Environmental Restoration, the Ogoni Power Project, and the Ogoni Specialist Hospital by President Muhammadu Buhari is a new path to sustainable physical and socio-economic development of Ogoniland beyond the ongoing soil remediation.
On behalf of the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, to flag off this groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of Ogoni Specialist Hospital to the glory of God and for the benefit of the people of Ogoni and humanity in general.
The story of the Ogonis in Rivers State has been that of environmental degradation and pollution caused by years of oil exploration, resulting to crisis and subsequent recommendations by the United Nations Environmental Programme, UNEP, to clean up the environment. In response to this, President Muhammadu Buhari flagged off the Ogoni cleanup project on 2nd June 2016 with an initial takeoff grant of $1 billion, considered to be one of the biggest environmental restoration projects in the world. Since then, the federal government under President Muhammadu Buhari have sustained commitment to the cleanup of Ogoni land. The recent groundbreaking for the construction of the Center of Environmental Excellence, the Ogoni Power Project, and the Ogoni Specialist Hospital is an eloquent testimony to that fact. The Center of Excellence for Environmental Restoration covers a vast area of 288,400 square meters and boasts of a total construction area of 30,000 square meters, including classrooms, dormitories, auditorium, and administrative block. Other projects flagged off by the president include a 100-bed specialist hospital to be sited in Tai to address the health needs of Niger Deltans arising from oil pollution, as well as a power project with substations to be sited in Bodo in Gokana local government area and Wiyakara in Kana local government area to connect Ogoni to national grid to service domestic and industrial consumption in the 4 Ogoni local government areas. President Muhammadu Buhari, speaking via Zoom, says the projects are critical to the federal government given the enormous socio-economic development it will bring to the area.
The Center of Excellence for Environmental Restoration, on whose site we hold this groundbreaking ceremony, is a center that will provide capacity and research opportunities to scholars within Nigeria and around the world on environmental remediation. It will initiate studies on homegrown methods and approaches to addressing oil pollution in the Niger Delta and other parts of the country to sub-Saharan Africa and beyond.
The president reiterates commitment to the Ogoni-Boni Link Road and the Ogoni axis of the East-West Road, which will further open up and improve the local economy of the Ogoni people.
This administration is constructing Bodo-Boni Road, a multi-billion naira project to provide or link to Boni Island, host to the Nigerian liquefied natural gas plant. This all-important economic road possesses through the heart of Ogoni land, and the benefits it will bring to the local economy will be considerable. We have also given approvals for the mobilization of the Ogoni axis of the East-West Road, which the Bodo-Boni Road opens into and serves as the gateway to the oil and gas free zone only.
The Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, IPREP, discloses that 20 out of the 65 polluted sites identified by UNEP have been remediated, while contracts have been awarded for the Phase 2 remediation of semi-risk sites. The Minister of Environment, Mohammed Abdullahi, and the project coordinator of IPREP, Ferdinand Diadon, gave an insight into the status of the project in terms of remediation, livelihood training for the locals, and the provision of amenities as recommended by UNEP.
The actualization of the power project marks the beginning of the transformation of the socio-economic potentials of Ogoniland and increased agro-allied activities, hence returning Ogoni to its erstwhile status, the food basket of Niger Delta. It will also provide sustainable and affordable electricity to power cottage industries and households, to power the high-pressure potable water schemes across Ogoniland and stimulate socio-economic activities.
One of the findings of the environmental assessment of Ogoniland by the United Nations Environment Programme is the fact that Ogoni residents, as well as others in the region, are daily exposed to contaminants of concern. that could be carcinogenic in nature. And therefore, the establishment of an Ogoni specialist hospital will greatly assuage the incidence of emerging cancer cases and other morbidities in Ogoni land, as well as other parts of Niger Delta and beyond.
The projects are heavily spread in all the local government areas in Ogoni, are projected to create over 2,000 direct and indirect jobs, mostly for the indigents.
Most of our laborers, skilled laborers, and some engineers, management, we are going to employ like more than 80% of our community people from here to empower the community, especially Ogoni people.
For the people, beyond improving the local economy, this initiative will help reduce the ugly memories of oil devastation in the environment.
Your Excellency, the Ogoni people are grateful to you for the cleanup project and the several projects that have come out of UNEP report for Ogoni. You took it upon yourself to make sure that the two governing structures of high prep are led by Ogoni sons. Myself as the chairman of Board of Trustees and Dr. Ferdinand Biadom as coordinator of the project office. The two of us are beside the other Ogoni professionals that you appointed to the governing council and the Board of Trustees. We are most grateful for considering Ogonis worthy to pilot the affairs of the project.
That even though the NEP report has been out for some years before you came into office, it was under your regime, it was your love for Ogoni that made you to flag it up in 2016, about 5 years after the report was released. Today we are here witnessing the flag up of this very, very important event, these three projects. You started your administration with the flagging up of the IPREP program, and we can observe you are closing your administration with the flag up of three very important projects that will bring life to that program. And we say thank you.
And we are happy that we are alive today to see the inauguration of this project. And our prayer is that the steps that have so far been taken should be sustained, that will see to the completion of this project, because we know what life-changing effect the project, when completed, is going to have on our people. So we want to commend the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for keeping his words.
The project has taken off before now, but most people didn't know there was a project going on. It was all about remediation and all of that. But people live within Ogoni land, and the contamination that there was and that there is also affects our people. I strongly believe that these projects will go in very immeasurable ways of addressing the Ogoni question, particularly the issue of light. When we have power, industrial grade power in Ogoni land, it's a catalyst to development in our area. When you talk about the water programs that are ongoing, you also look at the Center of Excellence, which is going to be a referral. It's going to be a reference point. I'm sure most parts of the world, especially this part of West Africa, will benefit from this center. At the same time, too, the hospital, it's a specialist hospital, because we have a whole lot of health issues that have come up with these issues of contamination. So I strongly believe a lot of our problems would have been addressed.
Ever there's so much damage to humanity, the place of human capital development becomes necessary. And so for this, it is worthwhile. It is more than expected, and I'm so happy that what Dr. Ferdinand Biadom, what the Minister for Environment, and what the President has done today, actually is worthwhile. Actually, to repay damage, lost souls, it's critical to hear that, how many people have been affected by ill health, how many people have been left away from their jobs. So with this now, it's a tonic, it's hope, speaking to the future, that the future is guaranteed with projects of this nature.
To further show the appreciation, the Supreme Council of Ogoni Traditional Rulers decorated the president with a traditional title, Benego Ogoni, meaning the great eagle of Ogoni land, received on his behalf by the Minister of Environment, Mohammed Abdullahi.
That's it on this episode of Environment Matters. Join us next time for our fresh episode. I'm Onengiye Fineface. See you next time.